You're listening to Hotepish with your host, Dwan B. Intelligent ish talk, intelligent shit talk, where we balance the profound with the profane. Political satire, celebrity and expert guests, information and entertainment, conversation and solutions. Leave your feelings at the door.
Come on in the chat room. Come on in the chat room. We are about to get started. We are about to get started. Come on in. Come on in. Be a friend. Come on in. Let me cut the other pictures off from the back. Yeah, come on in, come on in, come on in. We are about to talk about this study I just came across. That's why here at Hotepish, y'all gotta be coming up in here. I be reading this shit, and I be like, nah. We gotta talk about this. We gotta talk about this. We got to talk about this. Welcome all. We are here. What do, Paris Whitehead? What's up, Tasha? What's up, P. Rothstein? Eastwood 03? What's up? What's up, Leo? What's up, Trev? Anthony Evans, Diva D. What up, y'all? Midnight Green. Oh, shit, we got 44 likes and 64 people in here already. 47 likes. Thank y'all for liking the video. Please share. Because we about to talk some shit. Real news, while they're already trying to impeach a president on the last week of school. That's like you know me, I'm not a Trump supporter at all. But how you gonna expel somebody 7 days before they gonna be done? It's like you got this cat that's been bullying the school all year, taking people's lunch money. Everybody knew who it was. They didn't do nothing about it. And then, right, the week we've all about to finish school, the bully can't really do nothing no more. As a matter of fact, cats are standing up and slapping the bully back. Now all of a sudden you want to expel him. Get the fuck out of here. Y'all didn't want to expel him when he was saying all that shit about black people. Now you little bullshit ass Capitol get ready. You want to act like it's all President Trump. Y'all know on the last breakdown that we had, we talked about the systemic issues within the police departments. That whole Capitol building looked like it was inside. It was people on the inside helping that out. You know what I mean? That's why this study we're about to go through right here is so important. It's so important because people saw what happened at the Capitol building. And they're like, okay, but it looks as if you saw police kind of sort of opening doors. It was a report today from somebody saying that they're emerged. I forgot which one it was. It was one of those White House coons. I'll be forgetting their names. It was one of those people in the White House that's always selling out black people. Well, anyway, I don't want to see nobody get hurt, but she was saying like her emergency button was taken off, so she couldn't even sound the alarm. Yeah, it was who was it? It was let me see here. It was I want to get the name right. She kind of looked like Aaron Hall. And okay, now this is an ad blocker. I can't use that one. Who's that? Y'all know what I'm talking? Oh yeah, Ayanna Presley. Thank you, Star. Thank you, Star. Thank you, Star. Ayanna Presley. That's who it was. Because she, I don't want to see nobody get hurt, but Ayanna Presley ain't really been somebody who's been the most upfront and forward when it comes to meeting the needs of Black society. But like I said, Ayanna Presley, yeah, she be selling us out. But at the end of the day, I don't want to see no cats in no Viking masks come and harm that sister. You know what I mean? I ain't with that harming people stuff over some white supremacy. But yeah, it was a lot going on, and it looked like it was you saw the police kind of sort of letting people in. Look at this. Here she is. This is Ayanna Presley. There she go. Shouts out to her. It looked like she survived cancer, so that's a good thing. You know what I mean? I'm not sure if that's true or not, but she looked like a cancer survivor. So, if she is, salute to her. And salute to those who are cancer survivors. No shade. But yeah, she talked about her panic button was torn out before the Capitol riot. You heard Jim Clyburn, that other sellout. Oh my God, I can't stand Jim Clyburn. This motherfucker having fish fries for votes in his district. Ain't giving his people in the district shit. But Jim Clyburn talked about how he thought his iPad was stolen. But let me see here. Let me see if I can pull that article up. Clyburn. He was talking about in an interview. Jim Clyburn was talking about. Let me see here. Let's see if I can. Here it is. Jim Clyburn said that angry rioters found his office, his unmarked office, like not the office with his name on it that ain't got shit in it. They found the office with no name on it. And still they didn't get in his office, but they got there. And he said his staff had to basically blockade the door from them people getting in. So that tells you more that, those Capitol Police were involved. And the Capitol Police director, he stepped down the day after this whole thing. So it's a lot going on with that. And that lets you know that this goes deeper than Trump. Trump isn't the person responsible for this. This looks more like the people who are involved with the security, with national security, with Capitol security. That was probably the ones involved with that. But y'all know how the media work. They're going to go ahead and do their best to pin it all on one person. Then once Trump is out of office, they're going to act like they can wash their hands and problems are solved. So yeah. So it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things that we're going to have to get in and we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about this is some real stuff, you know what I mean? We're not going to talk about what was going on other shows. People go through what they go through on other shows. And, all we can do is wish for the best for those situations, when it comes to drama and with other people that we like. So, but let's focus. We could talk about that at a different time. Well, I'm not going to talk about it. Y'all can talk about it at a different time. This here is a very serious thing that we're dealing with. Because what we're dealing with here is 50 years of deputy gangs within the Los Angeles Sheriff Department. I started by talking about what was going on in the Capitol because we're starting to see in the Capitol, well now with the FBI investigating, we're starting to see nationwide there were police involved in that Capitol riot. Police taking time off their jobs to go to that Capitol riot. And now the discussion is internal police that are going around undermining things in the country. That's now at the forefront. Black people been saying the police been helping out, been complicit with a lot of this violence for years. We've had stories around the country with police departments being complicit with violence going on in their local departments, specifically targeting black people. But this country's never given a fuck. See, they don't mind these internal traitors. They don't mind that internal bullshit when it's targeting us. But now that it's made the country look bad in front of the world, now it's a problem. Now it's a problem. So, with this on the national forefront about the police doing BS within the department that could have possibly hurt United States senators, congressmen, and public officials, a study comes out from the Loyola Marymount University. Y'all can pull this up. It's on Google. You can get the host. It's a 57-page report. I first got turned on to this report by this article here in the Eyewitness News here in LA. And Eyewitness News did a scan of this report. And they don't go into too much detail because, hey, they're the news. Why worry about details that are harming the people when they can tell us Trump is everything wrong with America? So, you know how the news works. Everything bad's happening with Trump. LGBTQ are the new civil rights, and the Lakers are the champions. That's basically about as far as the news is gonna go in depth on real issues. So after I read this article that was released Wednesday, January 13th, that's yesterday, I decided to do the work for you. Because they're gonna in these articles they're gonna gloss over the racism. They're gonna gloss over how deep this shit goes. But for those who just want to pin a Cliff Notes version of this article, you can go to abc7.com and you can type in Compton deputy gang beating, or you can just Google LMU report on LA County Sheriff Department, and you will find this article. But for those of you listening, y'all know I go deeper than the surface level. We about to get all the way in depth and go into the actual article itself, because taking what the news says, that's not always the smartest thing that we can do. Here in the meantime, so like I said, I'm doing this because this affects us all. I'm talking from the point of view of LA because I'm from LA, born and raised, been here. My family's been here over 100 years now. But like I said before, it's nothing to brag about. White supremacy here is white supremacy everywhere. So when you take notes from what goes on locally, you can then start to compare notes with other people in other towns. This is not exclusive to LA. I'm sure this gang issue is a problem in probably whatever city you're listening from. I'm sure this issue is going on there too. So before people like that want to come up, I know it's going to be somebody that comes in the comments later on with their little bullshit. Oh, you're wrong right here, but maybe you could have been right there. Stop that little dick activity, niggas. Everything I say ain't going to always be right. But I am pointing people in the right direction, and I do give sources of where I get my information from. So if there's something in it that you see different, I encourage you to create your own platform and get that information out. If it's happening a certain way in your city or wherever you're from, I encourage you to open up a platform and get that information out. I'm not somebody running my mouth thinking I'm no more than everybody. I'm just a vessel spreading information as I see it come through, and doing my best to tie the knots as to how the information I'm spreading affects us all as a greater society. All right? Cool. I done said that. So for now, if any of you sorry sons of bitches hit my comments after this on some petty shit, you'll know why I said something about you and that time and that good time I had with your mama back in the 70s. So don't take it personal. She was easy. This is Hotepish, home of the profound and the profane. We talk shit and we spread information. That's what we do here. What's up, Wig Splitter? What's up, Stacy Smith in the chat room? All right, let's get into it. This here was a study done by Loyola Marymount University. It got people that went to my school, Santa Monica College. Oh shit, that's where I went for my first 2 years of school. That's why I don't owe no student loans. I went the junior college route. Then I went to the state system. So I didn't owe nobody nothing when I was done. Okay, this here is just basically a setup for what we're about to get into. I've pretty much already given you a setup. It's going in and talking about there are 18 different gangs or cliques within the LA County Sheriff Department. This story here goes through those cliques, and there are certain ones that haven't been found of any criminal behavior. Guess which one that was? The black one. The one black internal clique is the only clique that ain't got no bodies tied to it. That right there should show you how peaceful we as a people are, even when we do get the power. Oh, what's up, Tasha SX in the building? I got it. Taisha, I said Tasha. Taisha got them. She got that. She be carrying them straps. I got it. I got to make time to interview Taisha. She dope as hell. I like any woman that talks about guns and safety, and then not only talks about it, can show you how to be safe. Thank you for the Cash App, J.E. Lee. Thank you, sister, for the Cash App. The sisters really be holding a brother down when it comes to these shows. I appreciate that. I really do. Here it is, more in the articles talking about different gangs and subgroups. It's giving you the breakdown of how they're going to break down the different subgroups. I encourage everyone to look up this whole report, because in this report you're going to have detailed details. You'll get more if you read this directly than you'll get from me doing this. I'm just going to go through and point out what stands out to us as a people. But like always, I encourage people to do their own research and to look things up themselves for certainty. All right, the Bandidos. We've heard about the Bandidos. The Bandidos is a group that has tattoos, and they're a group that's been coming out. There's been a lot said about the Bandidos over the last 10 years here in LA. But the funny part about it is they always try to make it seem as if these gangs are separate and exclusive. They never really like to tie these things in with one another and how everything works together. They don't really like doing that because we've heard about the Bandidos, we've heard about the Vikings, but the news sort of talks about these cliques and groups as if they're just some things that happen in a vacuum. Look here with the Bandidos. They basically target, look what it says right here. The Bandidos allegedly target young Latino deputies to join as prospects who eventually become full-time members. Right off the bat, we see a murking of the quote-unquote Black-Brown coalition. This is for all those politicians, black politicians and black entertainers who always want to conflate black issues with Latino issues, that shit gets blown out the door in the first paragraph. In the first fucking paragraph of the first game, one of 18 games that they talk about. This isn't to say all of my Latino brothers are bad. Hell no, I got some dope ass Latino friends. Hell, I was on live last night. If y'all go and check out Ida Rodriguez's channel, I was on live on her channel last night just punching up some jokes, like going over some of my old jokes that she was helping punching some up. She was going over some of her jokes along with, a few of the comics. Go to Ida Rodriguez's channel, Truth Serum. I was on it last night, just on some joke shit. Shouts out to the homie Cisco, another Latino comic that I fucks with. Dan Morales. I ain't got no issues with Latinos on an individual level, but from a political standpoint, saying black and brown is harmful to black, because saying black and brown gives the false illusion that we're having the same issues caused by the same enemy. If in the police department, the LA County sheriffs, people that come on to so-called protect and serve, you have Latino gangs that recruit young Latinos who may have come into the LA County Sheriff Department with good intentions to protect and serve. What do to fuck up their minds? They target them right away to join their little bullshit ass internal gang. And you'll see later on in this article as I scroll down, because I've already read it for you. I'm just gonna come and highlight some things that I thought stood out. I read the full 57-page document, and I encourage you to also. It talks about later on how, one thing that got the Bandidos outed was there was a major fight in 2018 between LA County Sheriff members. And in that fight, they found out and they saw that there was harassment of LA County Sheriff members who were not in these gangs. So basically, if you were a Latino sheriff and you're in East LA and you're not part of this gang, they would do things to beat you up, to troll your family, to harm you, to hurt you, until you join one of these internal gangs. Look at this shit. They have traditional criminal gang tax, like drug dealers. These motherfuckers tax the drug dealers to sell narcotics on their turf. This is the police department. For all of you people, like I have certain people that come up in the chat room and be like, you from LA? LA don't know what real racism is. Shut the fuck up. If you in America and you black, you know what racism is. If you're in the world and you black, but especially in the United States of America, whether you from Louisiana, Miami, Iowa, Indio, St. Louis, East St. Louis, South Side Chicago, or Los Angeles, God damn it, you know racism. This is the shit we deal with here in LA. 18 fucking gangs that target black people. They'll target some Latinos too, yeah, but it's way, 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 way more of them than it is us here in Los Angeles, California. If you're looking for the name of the document, it is, a matter of fact, I'm going to put, when this show is over with, let me see if I can do it while we live right now so people don't keep coming here asking me what's the name of the document. Let me see here. I am going to go to the description bar right now. In the description, there we go, paste. In the description, I just put the full article The full article I am putting in the description box now. Let me see here. The full article I am putting in the description box right now. Boom. So that I don't slow down, so people don't keep coming in asking where's the article. The full article is in the description box. Saved right now. Because this is news. This isn't, for those YouTube trolls, this isn't hate. This isn't black people trying to divide America. This is a report on how America is already divided. A divide between everybody trying to fuck with niggas and black people doing our best to defend ourselves, with every racial group in America coming together to fuck with us. Here's what I was talking about here. Not only do they tax drug dealers, this story I was telling you was going to come later. Some bandidos, like street gang members, physically assault and batter others whom they want to assert control over or whom they perceive as a threat to their turf. Several deputies have been beaten by bandidos. Let's read that again. Let me highlight that. Let me highlight that. Y'all see that in the highlights? Several deputies have been beaten by bandidos, that's other deputies, behind the East Los Angeles station, across the street at the Katt nightclub, and off at training parties. For example, a coordinated bandidos gang attack occurred at the September 28, 2018 off training party at Kendall Hall. As confirmed by several witnesses present at Kennedy Hall, 4 veteran deputies affiliated with the bandidos attacked and beat up several unaffiliated deputies, at least one of whom the bandidos did not support working at the East Los Angeles station. 2 of the victims were seriously injured and had to be transported to a hospital for medical care. After the victims at Kennedy Hall reported the incident, they were further retaliated against by the bandidos, and dead rats were placed in front of the victims' homes. Similarly, a dead rat was placed outside of the car of a female deputy who had previously spoken out about the bandidos and filed a lawsuit against the county. This is for people who like to go around saying, like when black people talk about, like I always talk about how here in LA, after the 92 peace treaty, the gangs were all if they had all come together, there had not been any issues with gang issues, like basically the rest of 92. The riots happened in April of 92. That whole summer of 92, I remember walking outside. Look, I used to ride my bike down Crenshaw and King. All that shit that y'all see burned down from the LA riots, that's where I used to ride my bike as a kid. And I remember that summer of 92 being the first summer that I didn't hear rat-tat-tat-tat all up and down where I was raised. Because back in LA in the 80s and the 90s, man, we used to hear Tech 9s, AK-47s. It was like when Dr. Dre had that song, and Get Well Dr. Dre. But on the Chronic, when Dr. Dre released that track, Rat-Tat-Tat-Tat, nigga, that was where we grew up. But that summer after the riots, shit was the most peaceful I had ever seen it in my life. And then it was people in gangs complaining that they were arrested, car impounded, and their car being used in drive-bys in rival territory. Black people kept saying that, kept talking about how, like, look, man, it ain't us starting these gang wars, it's the police. What did people say? Oh, y'all just gonna blame the police? So the police are the ones doing all this? Black people just need to do better. See, if black people just come together, we ain't gotta worry about all this gang stuff. Black people just need to do better. Do better, black people. It's always these old do better niggas that's always talking the most shit And they're unemployment half the year. The other half the year, they working bullshit ass security jobs. Niggas got 2 baby mamas on child support behind on 1. Those be the main niggas talking about, we need to do better. It's always niggas that used to be in gangs, but they didn't. When they were selling drugs, they didn't sell enough to get out the game clean, get out the game properly. Those be the main ones talking about black folks just need to do better. No, nigga, you need to catch up on child support. And it's always these others. It's these either immigrant blacks or non-immigrants, non-black people. Always ones talking about black people are always blaming the white men. Stop blaming the white men. You just need to work hard. Just work hard and stop blaming the white men. Meanwhile, all a nigga want to do is get to work on time, and he's getting fucked with by a Bandidos Latino sheriff who didn't even want to be a Bandidos, but in order for him to keep his job and be safe at his job, he joined the Bandidos. And now he has to do some bullshit that the Bandidos gang leader set out him to do, targeting black people. That's the shit we got to deal with here in LA. For those watching, you see here Bandidos and Fort Apache logos at East LA Station. This right here, let me see if I can blow this. Can I blow this up? Now maybe if I do it from, no, I can't blow it up. Well, y'all see the image right here. Well, I can, yeah, I can. Y'all see the image. This is the image on the fucking glass door of the station at one point, on the right. And the image to the left is an image of the tattoo that they put on one another. What's up, 3J? What's up, good from Virginia? So yeah, this is an article. Again, for those just joining us, we're talking about these 18 gangs and cliques within the LA County Sheriff Department. All of them aren't violent, and out of the ones that aren't violent, we're about to get to one of them right now: the Buffalo Soldiers. This is the one and only black clique within the LAPD. Mind you, this is a study that was done by Loyola Marymount University. For those of you who are from LA, y'all know where LMU is. Loyola Marymount is right down the street from my old high school, Westchester High School. From my old middle school, Orville Wright Middle School. In between Orville Wright Middle School and Westchester High School is a university called Loyola Marymount University. And that's the university that conducted this study. The Buffalo Soldiers was a deputy subgroup within the Los Angeles Sheriff Department that was comprised of only African Americans. Historically, the term Buffalo Soldier referred to an African American soldier in the U.S. Army. While Buffalo Soldiers are occasionally mentioned in these articles, there is a dearth of reporting or information about this secret subgroup, meaning it ain't shit there. Because if they black, you know when black people fuck up, we the first to be exposed. One LA County Sheriff source stated that the Buffalo Soldiers arose in response to prejudice at the Century Station after Sheriff Baca transferred 9 black deputies there in 1999 to diversify the station and improve relations within the community. After some deputies who were resistant to change, pejoratively referred to as the new deputies as Buffalo Soldiers, the pejorative term was Buffalo Soldiers, the new name that they adopted for themselves. While some commentators on social media who claimed they were one of the members have equated the Buffalo Soldiers with other nefarious subgroups, there is no evidence of gang-like behavior to justify referring to them as a gang or a clique. I see a connection here, people. Oh, Taisha, you kind of just mentioned it in the chat. Yep, I see a connection here. Why did street gangs start in Los Angeles, California? Why did the Crips start? Why did the Slawsons start? Why did the Snyder Boys start? Well, the reason these black gangs started in Los Angeles, California was a response to the white gangs that were coming into Watts and South Central. One of the white gangs was called the Spook Hunters. Another of those white gangs was called the Coon Hunters. And what they would do in the 1950s and early 60s is they would come into black side of town and they would kidnap black people, beat them, rape them when they saw them by themselves. So the Slawsons, the Crips, Community Revolution in Progress, these were all gangs started to protect the black society from white gangs and white police officers who are harming black people. We kind of see black people doing the same shit here, officially. I know a little bit about the Century Sheriff Department. That's the department that patrols, for those of you here in LA, they patrol a lot of that east side area. And they also patrol over here off of Normandy and Century, Vermont and Century, that whole area, that pocket, 180, actually the most dangerous pocket in LA, more dangerous than Watts over the last 20 years. So what you had was, there was a lot of bullshit going on at Century Station with Latino and white officers harassing the black people. They transferred black. I remember when this happened back in, because this was the year I graduated high school. I remember when this shit happened. They put those black officers in that station to help with a lot of the issues that were going on in the community. And those black officers had to basically unionize to protect themselves from white aggression. Again, a study pointing out that although they were a union, there was nothing found that they did. Because whenever black people do shit, it gets called. Oh, Clinton, we're going to get to the Linux sheriffs too. Because this is going through all different departments of the sheriff department. Look at this, cavemen. We all know what a caveman is. These motherfuckers have a common tattoo that depicts cartoon of the caveman logo. And they also have a caveman logo on their mugs. I've done the due diligence of pulling as many logos as I can. And here you go. This is the coffee mug that these cave folks would have at the East LA station, depicting their loyalty to the cavemen. We have 238 watching, 169 likes. Get them likes up over 200, please. And please, please, please share the video. This is important information for your ass. We're talking about internal gangs within the LA County Sheriff Department that have gone off and harmed specifically black people and people of other descents, but for the most part, black people here in LA. We make up 6% of the population, but half of those harmed. How are we 6% of the population, but literally half of all of the people murdered and harmed by these internal gangs? Let's say that again. 6% of the population, half of those harmed. And let's make it, to make that even more, let's break that down even more. Yes, we're 6% of the population here, but most of the parts of LA that black people live in are actually LAPD areas. Like when we're talking about East LA, that's basically 98% Mexican. When we're talking about Linwood, that's basically 80% Mexican. When we're talking about these areas, there's not one area other than maybe Century in that little area between normally. But even then, that's probably maybe 50-50 black. So when we're talking about black people being half of the people murdered and harmed by these people, we're talking about in areas you'd have to drive day and night to find one single black person. You don't find black people in East LA. If a black person's in East LA, you can guarantee he's probably driving to work. Or he's going to go get some Latino pussy he found the other day at a club. You know what I mean? He's trying to go ahead and get his little, black and brown swirl on. Because black people don't exist in these areas. So for black people to be half the people harmed, that's a problem. Because we're already such a small part of LA, but we're even a smaller part of the areas of LA that the LA County Sheriff's patrol. Think about that. We're talking about the cavemen here. Here's a picture of their mug. East LA Station. They even had a motherfucking coffee mug. The Cowboys, they gotta suck. Anybody named after the goddamn Cowboys ain't shit. They probably try to kill niggas, but they miss every shot. The Executioners. Now, we all know about the Executioners. Matter of fact, I did a broadcast on this very channel. I think it was March of 2020. It was sometime around there. Specifically on the Executioners and the Bandidos. These motherfuckers have a tattoo that depicts a skull wearing a Nazi helmet with CPT on the front. Shouts out to all you niggas rappers that thought y'all controlled Compton. Compton ain't controlled by you niggas. I love you, Kendrick Lamar. Dopest rapper alive, in my opinion. I love NWA. Eazy-E. Great music. But you starting to see that all that gangster talk they talk ain't got shit to do, ain't got shit on the real gangsters of Compton. The real gangsters of Compton are the Executioners. Niggas go around shooting each other in Compton on some bullshit, while these motherfuckers with Nazi helmet tattoos are setting all the shit up. And that's why I do these broadcasts, to bring information. Rashida Gibson, we gonna get there. That's in this report too. Rashida Gibson, we gonna get there. We gonna get there. That's a great comment. Because that's some of that activity is in this report. They'll put a black inmate in there with a few Mexicans and get them jumped. And there won't be no one-on-one fade. It'll be one black dude and like 3 or 4 of them, and at least one of the 3 or 4 of them got shanks. I do that all the time. And that's in this report. That's why I encourage you guys to look up this report. The full report is in the description of this broadcast. Look at this. On August 25th, Samuel Aldama, Aldama doesn't sound like a black or a white last name. That doesn't sound like a black or a white last name. Samuel Aldama, a sheriff deputy from the Compton station with an executioner's tattoo, and his partner fatally shot Dante Taylor, an African-American man walking on the sidewalk dressed in red. See, this is one of those situations where they'll say he's in a gang because he was dressed in red, right? When the news talks about it, gang members shot by LA County Sheriff Department. That's how the news is going to lead this. That's how they did lead this. Gang members shot by LA County Sheriff Department. And when they release that headline alone, what do you have? You got all the others saying, see, look at those black people. He was in a gang. He probably deserved it. And then you got other black people talking about, man, we just need to do better. If he wasn't walking down the sidewalk in red, maybe he would have made it home safe. See, that's black folks, man, and all that gang stuff. How was the sheriff supposed to know? That's what you dumb niggas sound like. That's why I like having these type articles, because I never like to jump to conclusions based on the first news report. The first news report's always bullshit, especially when it comes to reporting on us. Whatever conclusions they draw is bullshit. Whenever you read the first news report, just read what happened and stop. You don't need to read their conclusion because it's always gonna be fucked up. But then when these studies come out, every few years you get studies like this to come out. And in these studies, you get the truth of what really happened behind the story. But the news, they're not gonna do a story on how they fucked up in 2016 saying the LA County sheriffs executed or murdered a black gang member. They're not gonna come up and write a retraction. They're not gonna do a special investigative report over how they got that headline wrong. They're not gonna admit that what they said was misleading. They're just gonna maybe throw an article out there saying what I see right here: report urges reform of LA County deputy gangs. You see here, this is what they say in response. When the real shit comes out, they don't come out and say, hey, yo, man, a player fucked up. They just give some lighthearted title to an article. They release it, you see here, Wednesday, 9-10 a.m. They release it early in the morning. They may do one news briefing on it, and then the shit's forgotten about. And then tomorrow, another black person is going to get killed somewhere in the country by police, and half of the Negroes are going to be saying, we need police reform. We just need to do better. We need a Democrat in office. Where are the Democrats? See, this is Trump's America. This is Trump's America. Question Negroes that say this is a Trump thing. I got a question for y'all. Why does this study say 50 years of deputy gangs if this is an issue with Trump's America? Is this Trump's America? Or is this just America that Trump happens to be the one sitting in the office at this time? Which one is it? Is it Trump's America? Or is it just America? This is some shit you can throw in the face of all those self-hate Negroes. All them we need to do better niggas. And look, as a matter of fact, share this video now to every we need to do better nigga you know. Every nigga talking about we need to do better, share this story right now to them. And ask them, we need to do better. Do better than what? Do better than this? The worst gang member on the street is doing better than this? Street niggas sell drugs. The police tax them to sell drugs in their neighborhood. Remember when I did that that breakdown a couple weeks ago on how the LAPD is the mafia for Los Angeles? Well, so is the sheriff department. Cause ain't that what the mafia do? You can't sell drugs on this corner unless you pay taxes to the mafia. Ain't that what they do? Ain't that what they do? So are you waiting on the news to label the LA County Sheriff and the LAPD the mafia? Or are you going to see the behavior yourself and label them the mafia? See, power is in labeling. You get power when you label. That's why folks are always labeling us and black folks are arguing, because we're not used to being powerful. If you're a powerful motherfucker, you label. Power ain't something that's given to you. Power is something that you assume. You take power. So every individual listening to my voice right now, every individual on earth has the ability to assume this power and label. We just so used to being slaves over the last 400 years, we forgot we had that power. That's why I don't necessarily call white people white all the time. I call them Albions. Europe was named Albion by the Moors. When the Moors were in Spain, they called Spain. They didn't call it Spain. They called it Al-Andalusia. And they called those Nordic people, the Germanic tribes, they called them the people of Albion. So I call them the people of Albion. Because I'm powerful enough to do that. And I don't care if they like it or not. I don't care if they accept it or not. You're the Albions, motherfucker. Power is in labeling. Is this not mafia tactics? Is this not true gang warfare going on? Started by the LA County Sheriff Department? So call them what they are. This also gives further credence to what Neely Fuller talks about. When he says, Neely Fuller always says, calls them race soldiers. Don't call them police. They're race soldiers. They're people who sign up for the police for the expressed intent of furthering white supremacy. And white supremacy isn't just something that's furthered by people who classify themselves as white. Because remember, Latinos do classify themselves as white. Even though the white supremacists don't see them as white, they still legally classify them as white. That's a legal classification that the overwhelming majority of Latinos classify themselves as. So if you classify yourself as white, who am I to treat you any different than what you classify yourself at? So let's continue to read this. Both deputies claimed they saw a gun in Taylor's waistband, but no gun was found. Taylor's survivors filed a lawsuit alleging unconstitutional excessive use of force. Aldama admitted in May of 2018's deposition that he harbored ill will, let me highlight that, ill will against African Americans. Let that sit for a little bit. Samuel Aldama, again, that name, let me see if I can find this dude's picture real quick. Let me see if I can find this picture. I'm sure I can find this motherfucker's picture. Let's look up Samuel Aldama. Let me see here. Let's see if they put a picture of this dude up. Let's see if they put a picture of him up. Oh, here he is. I found this motherfucker. I found him. I found him. First off, I got a picture of his tattoo. Boom. Now I got a picture of him. Let's look up Samuel Aldama. Hold on, people. Hold on, because when y'all see this pit bull looking motherfucker, y'all gonna laugh. Here is... No, I gotta change that to a JPEG. It won't show unless it's JPG. Cool. I gotta change this other one to a JPEG. And then you'll be able to see it. JPG. You're gonna see this motherfucker right here. He looked like... This motherfucker looked like Pitbull. Look at this motherfucker. This is Sheriff Aldama. This is Sheriff Aldama. And here's Sheriff Aldama's tattoo. This is Sheriff Aldama. And here's his tattoo. He ain't white. Although I'm sure he classifies himself as white on his documents. But this is what we talk about when we talk about a black-brown coalition. This is why black people, you have to stand firm. You do have well-meaning Latino brothers who don't want to see this come out because they just want to see everybody get along. But you can't listen to them because they're not the ones behind the 8 ball. Your black ass is behind the 8 ball, not them. So as much love and respect as I have for my Latino people I'm cool with, this is the dynamic I have to walk outside my door and deal with. You see here, he harbored ill will against African Americans. He quickly retracted his statement, claiming he didn't understand the question. What does that sound like? That sounds like white-splaining to me. Aldama testified that he received his tattoos 2 months before the shooting, and there were up to 20 other deputies that had the same tattoo. After a judge ordered that the names of the other deputies with matching executioner tattoos be disclosed to the plaintiff, the county settled the lawsuit for $7 million. The plaintiff's counsel stated publicly that he believed the county settled for such a large amount in order to avoid releasing the names of executioner's members. This here is what, like, when y'all listen to Tariq's broadcast and Tariq talks about those settlements, he's always talking about settlements getting in the way of justice. This is what he means when he's talking about settlements getting in the way of justice. Right when it's time to talk turkey, right when we get to the point where the rubber meets the road, right where we get to the point to where we can root out all of the evil within that department, they settle. So the family gets his bread, and I'm not hating on the family getting their money. I guess, $7 million, I'm not saying I wouldn't. In that, if $7 million, if I'm in their situation, me personally, I'd rather keep fighting it. But I don't know what I would do in that situation, so I'm not here to judge. I can't sit here, in my head, I can't judge that family. But as black society gets more money, that's why it's so important that we build our economy. Because as we build our economy, $7 million won't be enough to stop an investigation from going further. Now, I'm sure when that family settled, they didn't, they probably saw $7 million. They didn't know. They're like, shit, just give me the money. I can't do nothing else. But when they settle, we get to the point to where this officer who said, in his own words, his own words, that he harbored ill will against black people. Black people ain't did shit. The fuck you mad at? Officer Gonzalez, a deputy at the Compton Sheriff Station, confirmed in a recent deposition that the executioners are a violent gang that dominates the station and that has assaulted other deputies. So what about blue on blue crime? See, the people in blue just need to come together and talk it out now. Just talk it out, because look, who raised them? Like where their mamas at? Like what's wrong with their society? Where's the coon babble when it comes to outing these motherfuckers? See, you ain't gonna hear no coon babble over this. We talking where the rubber meets the road here. You know what coons say when they hear this? Nah. I know the police department. I know all police ain't good. You know, I know that. I know that. But still, as black people, we need to still come together, because if we was together, the police couldn't do that to us. Well, the man was just walking down the street, and the police officer's incentive for getting in the gang is harming a black person minding his own business. Was that black person wearing red? That black person shouldn't have been wearing no gang colors now. We all know red's a gang color. Well, no, he wasn't wearing red. And actually, I mean, he wasn't in the gang, but actually, if he were in the gang, he was wearing red in the right neighborhood to wear red. Well, still, no. See, that's black folks making excuses. Now, that's just making excuses. We shouldn't have no gangs now. Well, what about the gangs? And what about the police department being a gang that's harming black people who aren't in gangs? Well, did you vote? That's what always comes down to these Negroes. Well, next time you need to vote, just vote them out. Well, did you know in Compton, they voted in Asia Brown, a black woman, as the mayor? And even Asia Brown has talked about the issues within the Compton Sheriff Department. Well, we need to vote harder. Well, did you know that the LA County, look, I did a broadcast on the Sheriff Department just 6 months ago, and I talked about how I had Jayla on there, the self-esteem queen. It's a great episode. Go back and watch that. And we talked about how the reason why the Compton Sheriff is there is because there used to be a full-on Compton PD. And the Compton PD was disbanded. For what? Literally doing the same shit that the new Compton Sheriff Department is doing. The people that replaced the motherfuckers that was fucking up. The Compton Sheriff Department raped Jayla on duty in a public bathroom. Go back and look at that interview. That was back in either June or May. Look up the interview I did with Jayla, the self-esteem queen, and we talked about the Compton Sheriff Department and how the Compton Sheriff Department in 1996 raped that woman. Gang raped her. And she had to later work with the same police officers who raped her. She had to work with them to convict pimps and people who were on the street, because after she got raped, she became an advocate for for women on the streets and hookers and victims of human trafficking, and she rescued over 1,800 women who were victims of human trafficking, sex trafficking. But she talks about how she got into that after she was raped by the Compton Police Department. Go look up that interview. I ain't new to this shit. I'm true to this shit. I've been doing that. For a lot of you new motherfuckers who think that I sound like other people that you like, suck a dog's dick. I'm authentically Dwan B. I've been talking about shit like this. Salute to Craig Fax. Salute to 5150. Salute to Judge Joe Brown and all the people who've helped me grow my platform. But I ain't new to this shit. I've been talking about this kind of stuff. Go back and check my archives. Yeah, Wayne, I will bring Jayla back at some point. Jayla was a dope interview. Look at this. Alberto Gonzalez talks about the gang, the violent gang, the executioners within the LA Sheriff Department. Look at this. These prospects start chasing ink because they want to all get ink. Ink meaning a tattoo. These prospects start chasing ink by becoming very aggressive on the streets in order to show the executioners that they are worthy of wearing their tattoo. Sometimes prospects and ink members falsely claim in reports that they saw somebody running with a gun as justification for arresting or using force against the suspect. These false reports are referred to as ghost gun reports. Look at this. June 18, 2020. The day after I turned 39, two deputies from the Compton station, Miguel Vega and Christian Hernandez, approached Andres Guardo, an 18-year-old security guard who was speaking to somebody in the car that was stopped in front of a driveway. Guardo fled from the deputies for unknown reasons. Vega, who observed Guardo holding a handgun, shot Guardo in the back multiple times, killing him. Gonzalez testified at the deposition that Vega and Hernandez were both prospects seeking to join the executioners at the time of the shooting. I remember that shooting. That shooting happened not too far from my house. That shooting, I remember that. And that shooting actually is what made me go ahead and do that report on the sheriff department. It's people in the chat room talking about when things happen between races, it doesn't mean it's because of race. Man, get that clown shit out of my chat room. Racism is America. America is racism. Like Farrakhan says, if it's 1,000 wolves out there and 100 wolves are peaceful, is it in my best interest to find out which one of those 100 wolves are peaceful? Or should I treat all these motherfuckers like they got some issue for my safety? And those who are the good wolves, they'll show themselves. It ain't on me to point out the good. It's on the good to show themselves. Until then, as a black man, I have to take precaution. Why do I have to take precaution? Because of what I have highlighted right here. Police officers that ain't even white admitting to having ill will against African Americans. Black person ain't done shit to him. And I got the people with guns in charge of protecting me, running around, getting paid off my taxes, in cars my taxes are paying the gas for, and be worried about bullets being shot in my ass that I'm paying for with my fucking taxes. You better be smart, black people, and assume race. And if it ain't race, it'll come out in the wash. But black people being highly skeptical of race, That's the best thing we can do. To have ourselves ready for bullshit. Because when we ain't thinking about race, people with guns and official badges are. Somebody asked me who's more corrupt. They both corrupt. It don't matter who's more corrupt. It really doesn't. They're both corrupt. And they corrupt against your black ass. LAPD corrupt. LA County Sheriff's corrupt. St. Louis PD's corrupt. Ferguson PD's corrupt. Atlanta PD's corrupt. Miami-Dade PD is corrupt. Cook County cops are corrupt. Seattle, Washington, Iowa, goddamn Idaho, North Dakota, South Dakota, Oakland, nigga. If you live in Memphis, Nashville, goddamn it, you can live in rural Grace, Mississippi. If there's a police department there, they're corrupt. We don't get anything by dick swinging over who's more corrupt. Corrupt is corrupt. Unless you're talking about the rapper corrupt. We can freak it. Freak if you want to. Dime if you want to. Communicating now. Oh, that's my shit. Shouts out to Corrupt the Rapper. Dog Pound. I don't want to dream about getting paid. I don't want to dream about getting paid. Shouts out to Corrupt. You're right, Chuck Spear. The court system is corrupt. The Capitol Police is corrupt. The FBI, the CIA. That's why we as black people have to assume that we're dealing with corruption for our safety. Niggas be running around talking about, no, but that white person good. Well, nigga, you go kick it with them then. While the rest of us be cautious and not make the same mistakes our forefathers made by assuming innocence. We didn't lose America because these motherfuckers were some outright thug, head up, straight up fighting people. No. We lost America because these motherfuckers are very deceptive. And Native Americans, Native black people here thinking that they have the same humanity we have. And then the minute you ain't looking, the minute you turn your back, these motherfuckers are starting guerrilla warfare, killing all the women and the children in the village. Shouts out to the Battle of Negro Fort. Go look that shit up. In the Seminole Wars, black people, John Horse. Yeah, I could take you back years and years and years and show you where we as a people took them for face value, telling other black people, well, now, all of them ain't bad. And then you look up, your whole fucking tribe is wiped out, and those who are living are either getting sold into slavery or getting marched to Oklahoma. Because you want to talk about your one cool homie and say, well, all of them ain't about race. Sit your clown ass down. We got to be smarter than that now. That was a cool little excuse back in the day. We in 2021, that ain't no shit to ever say again. We talking about white supremacy. If we're talking about white supremacy and there's someone coming in there trying to get you off of talking about white supremacy, that means talk about white supremacy even harder. That's why I did not acknowledge the name of the person who said that, or nor did I put their comment up. Because it's not about the individual, it's about the message. The message is, whenever there's a room of black people talking about shit to help us out, there's always going to be another black person or someone else who tries to skew the conversation from race. If you want the conversation skewed from race, the link to this article is in my description box. You read this yourself. You go to your YouTube channel and you create your own report about this and speak to it from the point of view that you see it. I'm not going to come in your chat room and tell you why you're wrong and why you need to see it the way I see it. I'm seeing this shit from my point of view, from my people. And if there's another point of view that you see it from, read the 57 pages twice like I did and go to your channel and you create that report and you talk about it from your point of view, and I will respect that with the same respect I want for my shit. Is that clear? Cool. The Grim Reaper's logo at the Linux station. Somebody in the chat room earlier, someone in the chat room, I appreciate it. Yeah, hit that Cash App. Someone in the chat room earlier talked about the Linux station. This is an actual badge that the Linux Sheriff Department wore on their actual uniform. A gang called the Grim Reapers. This is a picture of they shit. Black hooded skeleton. They've been involved in at least 2 fatal shootings.
1981.
Conceded in a deposition that the symbol is known as a symbol of death. Look at the name of the officer, Juan Meza and Deputy Lawrence Swanson. Neither have black names. I'm not going to go through every single thing in great detail. I'm just pointing out highlights. I really want you guys to read this shit for yourselves, especially if you live in LA. But if you don't live in LA, I can guarantee you there's something similar going on in whatever police department in the city or county that you live. This is me talking from my point of view in my city. And the reason why I'm doing this is 2 reasons. One, this article was just released yesterday, so I want to make sure I'm right on top of the news as it gets released. 2, I know the layout of LA. Nobody's going to tell you how the layout of LA works better than me. There's no one else on the internet who's going to tell you about the city of Los Angeles better than me. Because like I said, my family's been in this city for over 100 years, and we've always lived within the borders of LA. We've lived in South Central LA for over 100 years. Still in South Central LA. I never lived in the Valley. I never moved out to Pasadena. I never lived in the Inland Empire. I'm born and raised, DNA, right here in the city. I have close friends who are LA County Sheriff officers. I have close friends who are LAPD officers. They drop information on me as needed. I went to college here. I own businesses here. So I know how the city works on both the business level. I know how it works on an educational level. I know how it works on a police level. I know how it works on a street level too. So that's why I'm having this. For those of you who are from wherever you're from, if there's a similar story like this in your area, I encourage you to share the information. Pass it out. If you can't break the information down, pass it over to me. I'll break it down for you. But I can't speak on any of the city the way I can speak for LA. But I can also promise you what's going on in LA is going on in your city too. I'm just giving you my point of view. From the point of view of someone who understands more than what's just being written. Nigga Carlito said, I'm going to Calabasas when I hit that lick. Hey, that's funny. Hey, I ain't gonna lie. For your money, if you got that lick money where you hit that lick where you got millions, Calabasas will give you more land for your money than anywhere else. That's why everybody moves to Calabasas. It's on the other side of Malibu. See, the real rich people live on Malibu, live in Malibu. But 2 things with Malibu. One, after Malibu has a funny topography and they have a funny city council, they're not allowing any new development in the city of Malibu. So that pushed people to the other side of the hill into Calabasas. Because in the early 90s, there was a fuck ton of rain, 92, 93, 91, that Malibu basically got washed out into the ocean. So they're not allowing they haven't allowed new development, new construction new subdivisions in Malibu since the 90s. So because of that, people moved over the hill to Calabasas. And Calabasas got these huge plots of land for your money. But no, Carmelito, I'm not moving to Calabasas. I thought about it. If I do hit that lick, I did think about it. Me and my wife talked about that. If we hit that lick, will we move to Calabasas? But then last fire season, Calabasas damn near got wiped out in the fire. And then the greatest of all time, my man Kobe, I know the hill where his plane crashed. Oh my God, I drove down that street about a week after it happened, man. And I can't go down now. Las Virgenes. If you drive down Las Virgenes, that's the street that leads to 101 with PCH. And if you look to the left, about a quarter mile down your drive on Las Virgenes, you'll see the hill where Kobe Bryant smacked into. No, I'm not moving to Calabasas. If I hit my lick, I'm probably gonna move to Hancock Park, or I'm gonna move back to where my parents moved to, where I was raised, View Park. I'll probably move back to View Park because a lot of white people moving into View Park trying to gentrify Black Beverly Hills, and I'm not gonna let that happen. That's probably where I'm gonna move when I hit my lick. Probably back to View Park, but a big ass house in View Park. That's how LA I am. That's how LA I am. I can't move to Calabasas. Can't do it. Back to what we're talking about here, the Jump Out Boys. This is basically, the Jump Out Boys was a department, is a group within the LA County. You see by the name Jump Out, they're the gang unit. But Jump Out basically, like they roll up on people who jump out the car and fuck them up, harass them. I've seen these people in action. I've seen these Jump Out Boys in action. There have been times I've been driving down Normandy and I've been jumped out on back when I had my Chevy Tahoe. Man, back when I had my Tahoe and it had the 22s on it, nigga, the Jump Out Boys visited me a couple times. They saw a big black nigga in a big black truck and big ass rims. Oh, that nigga gotta be something. They jumped out of my ass a couple times in unmarked cars. Luckily for me, they didn't pull me out of my car and rough me up. But they did pull me over and get it. Real hostile. The first time this happened was on Normandy and 83rd. Because I used to take Normandy, when I worked at my last job, I used to take Normandy to work. The other time this happened was over when I was on the east side. I forgot exactly where I was, but I was on Imperial. I was on Imperial near San Pedro. And the thing about it is, that's LAPD jurisdiction. That's not even sheriff's jurisdiction. These motherfuckers still jumped out on my ass. Like, you don't have time. The minute you put your car in park, when you stop, put your car in park, them motherfuckers is already out the car. Name ID, where you coming from? And both times them niggas got out, they saw I was a square because, like one of my boys who worked the police department, who worked the LA County Sheriff, he said, you know who the gang members are by 6 months in. By 6 months in, you know the distinct difference between the gang members and the regular people. For those asking about this report, the full report is in the description box. The full report is in the description box. Click on it and you'll get all 57 pages of this report. This is a public report. I'm just highlighting this shit because the news won't. Look at this. Tattoo meeting. The Jump Out Boys was an idea that was thought of by the first few members. The name Jump Out Boys was given to us in Compton by various gang members who we came in contact with on a daily basis. The red eyes will be on the Jump Out Boys tattoo. If the gun is smoking, then that means the member has been involved in at least one shooting. The number you were given means that you were a part of an organized brotherhood that follows a structure in order to compile and review the members who are entered into a booklet. So basically, they're telling you they have a tattoo and they give you smoke on that tattoo if you killed someone. That means there is a social credit. You get social prestige. You get social honor and social status within the police department if you've killed someone. Anybody who's studied psychology, who knows how the brain works, knows that there are two ways humans are influenced. That's through rewards and consequences. All human behavior comes down to two things that motivates human behavior: rewards and consequences. So this means you get social rewards for killing people. We all know most people are followers. We all know most cops are losers that weren't shit on the streets. They joined the police department for social acceptance. So you mean I get a higher level of social acceptance if I use this gun on somebody and I won't be convicted? What do you think is going to happen psychologically in the minds of a white supremacist, whether that white supremacist be Asian, Latino, or white? What do you think goes through the mind of somebody who already practices white supremacy if he gets a higher social status for killing somebody that he doesn't like anyway? Oh, shouts out to the chat room. I got 6 Cash App donations. Thank you. Miss Penn, Miss Porsche. I know the other person, she don't like her government name being read out. Last time I read her government name out, it was a problem, so I'm not gonna read it. But you know who you are. I appreciate the Cash App donations. I appreciate it. But yeah, this is the meaning of their tattoo. Damn, dude said, Chuck Spears said, cop broke your leg. See, this is what we got to deal with. And while you got people coming around saying, you don't have to always focus on race now. Meanwhile, you got brothers walking through the neighborhood, minding their own business, getting their fucking legs broken because of the color of their skin. And you got people saying, well, it ain't always about race. This is a sheriff department memo from 1973 talking about the little devils. So they've had these gangs on record since then, and nothing's been done. This here's the Pirates about in Firestone Station. Firestone Station is being shut down, but these gangs still exist within the department. They just got, when they shut these departments down, they just spread those thugs across to other departments. A gang called the Posse. And these motherfuckers, this goes back to somebody was talking about in the chat room earlier about the prisons. See, for how things work in LA, the LA County, when it comes to the LA County Central Division prison, all the prisons and jails in LA are run by the sheriff department. Men's Central downtown, Twin Towers downtown, Wayside Prison. That's out near Magic Mountain off the 5 freeway. There is the Century Division substation. That's where Paris Hilton was being held when she had the little bullshit ass one night in jail. Yeah, so the sheriff are the people that control the prisons and the jails around here. So your sheriff are the ones in LA that work with these other irregular forces of white supremacy, whether that be the Nazis that are in the prison systems or the Mexican mafia in the prison systems. And they fuck with black people. Somebody earlier talked about how they knew a person that was an LA County sheriff, and that person, they were talking about how like they'll let a black person out and like let them get jumped by Mexicans or by white people. Look at this right here. This was a suit, August 1998. Danny Smith, an African-American inmate with mental illness, was beaten to death by deputies in the Twin Towers. While the sheriff department officials originally stated that Smith had freed himself out of handcuffs, they later conceded that he died in handcuffs. Guess what was written on the original news article when this happened? Man frees himself from handcuffs, beaten by the LA County Sheriff Department. That's how the news article read. First of all, who the fuck believes somebody freed themselves from handcuffs? Somebody that's mentally ill. 9 days later, 8 members of the posse beat another mentally ill inmate so severely that he was left with flashlight marks on his back and boot prints on his side. Sheriff Sherman Block fired those employees. Crazy part about it is, Sheriff Sherman Block, old sorry liver encrusted devil of a human being, Sheriff Sherman Block looked like Dick Cheney's shit. If Dick Cheney took a shit, it would look like Sheriff Sherman Block. His old decrepit ass died a couple weeks after this incident. Couple weeks, couple months, something like that. But it was in 1998 when his sorry ass died. Rest in shit, Sherman Block. Leaves the question, what really happened to our sister Sandra Bland? Right. Taisha, right. Because like I said before, this isn't exclusive to the LA County Sheriff. This is just Loyola Marymount deciding to do a study on the LA County Sheriff. If local universities did similar studies on the police departments where they near the areas they patrol, I'm sure they will find similar findings. Luckily for us, we had a university that decided to do a report and release it for all of us to go through, pull apart, and discuss. Yep, the rattlesnakes. Another one. They're out in the Antelope Valley. This is for the people who are out there in Palmdale and Lancaster. Again, Palmdale, Lancaster, that's the area where black people have been sort of filtered out to through Section 8. Here in LA around 2002, 2003, Section 8 stopped handing out Section 8 vouchers for the city of LA. If you were new to Section 8, you could only get a voucher in Palmdale or Lancaster, or better known as the Antelope Valley, like what they're saying right here. If you wanted in LA County Section 8, you had to get moved out there, and that stayed in place until about 2012. So I mean, like now if you already had a voucher, you can move within the city already if you found a new place. But if you got a new voucher, you had to move your ass out there. So Palmdale and Lancaster is full of a whole bunch of niggas that couldn't afford to live. There's a few reasons why people moved to Palmdale and Lancaster. We have one, those were cheap ass houses in the 90s. So for those who were looking to buy in the 90s, you can buy a five-bedroom house for like $60,000. When that same 5-bedroom house in LA back then would be $400,000 or $500,000. Now that house in LA would be about $2 million. But those are people who bought houses out there in the 90s and in the 2000s Those went from $60,000 houses to $120,000 houses to $150,000 houses. Now they up in the $400,000, $500,000. They up in the $500,000 range, like damn near everywhere else. But a lot of people moved out there to get a house and to upgrade their neighborhood. Another reason why people moved to Palmdale and Lancaster is because their children, their sons, were in gang wars, or were in gang problems, and they were having issues in the neighborhood, and they wanted to get their kids out of the neighborhood, out of the issues that they were in, and it was either move to a rival gang neighborhood or move to Palmdale. So they moved to Palmdale. So a whole bunch of niggas moved out to Palmdale and Lancaster. It's basically what I'm trying to tell you in a nutshell. But this here talks about how they would violate people's 4th and 14th Amendment rights, and how it was a pattern or practice of discrimination against African Americans living in federally subsidized housing according to the Fair Housing Act. You see how that all comes together? You see how when you listen to my rants and my stories and my tangents, how they all tie back to one point? Everything I say comes back full circle. I'm not just talking in a vacuum. That's how y'all know I'm 100. I ain't bullshitting. I bring all this shit back full circle. I ain't trying to cause no division. I'm pointing out the division that's already there. They targeted black people. And with that said, black people still are not the majority in the Antelope Valley. Because there's a fuck ton of white people and Mexicans out there too. That place is full of Albions. It's full of Latinos. Black people aren't even half of the population out there. But you see the rattlesnakes target the few that are. Black people make more than 6% of the Antelope Valley, unlike LA, but they don't make up half. But they make up the majority of the people being targeted. I'm so glad my parents didn't move out there to the Antelope Valley. When my parents left the Crenshaw district, they moved right up the hill to View Park. We got to stay in LA and upgrade our neighborhood. We didn't have to move way out there. I remember my mom when I was a kid. She was talking about moving out to Pomona. Back when in the 80s, and black people were moving to Pomona, and then further out to Riverside. And my dad was like, "Man, I ain't about to move out to them little cities, them little ass cities." He was like, "Yeah, it's cool now, but these white folks gonna raise this grass, and it's gonna be traffic like a motherfucker trying to get to work." All these black people moved out there like, "Man, I only gotta drive an hour to get to work, man, that shit. I'm gonna go ahead and drive that hour to work." It was an hour back in 96. By the time 2006, that hour drive became a 4-hour drive. No cap. And y'all stuck out there. I'm so glad. Thank DwannBrown, my father. Thank you, Father, for saying, look, we will take these gunshots in the Crenshaw district and just ride this wave out before we move out there to one of these small ass cities. Thank you, Father, for seeing ahead of that game. Because now, as a property manager here in LA, I got 4 apartment buildings that I run. And I'm always getting people from these outside areas that once owned a house in LA. They sold it, cashed out, moved out there. But ain't no jobs out there. They still work out this way. Now they're like, "Man, fuck it. I'm tired of that drive. Just let me get a 1-bedroom apartment so I don't have to drive that 2.5 hours of work every day." And I'll be like, "See? Should have never left anyway. Should have never left anyway." But yeah, y'all see here, we talking about the Regulators. There is a sheriff department gang called the Regulators. These niggas think they Warren G. Regulators! Look at these motherfuckers. Skull face tattoo with a man holding a shotgun. They dominated the Century Station. Look at this. In 2003, anonymous deputies reported various acts of misconduct by regulators members and compared them to the Mexican Mafia, an infamous prison gang. So, if an internal cop is comparing them to the Mexican Mafia, then that begs the question: well, what racial ethnic group are the regulators comprised of? It ain't black. Look at this. They repeatedly beat up and shocked an inmate named Tyler Willis. Now you know Tyler Willis is a nigga name, leaving him with a fractured leg and extensive injuries. You see how in this study they keep coming up with black people that were harmed? Not yet have you seen one black officer, not one black LA County sheriff has been implicated anywhere in any of these reports. Harming, not only have you not seen a black sheriff officer not harming another black person, you haven't seen them harming any other racial group. This goes back to what I said about that phony ass black-brown coalition. Ain't no goddamn coalition. Because there ain't no motherfucking black officers going around fucking with Mexicans or fucking with Asians or fucking with any other group. But you see all these officers with these other last names fucking with black people. Proof positive, there ain't no fucking coalition until it's time to get benefits from the government. There's a gang called the Spartans. There's a gang called the Tasmanian Devils. There's another internal gang in the department called the 3000 Boys. This is in the jails, Men's Central Jail. $3,000 boys. Look, these motherfuckers even got gang signs. Look at this shit. 3,000 boys. And 3,000 boys meaning from the 3,000 block in the jail. Then there's a 2,000 boys from the 2,000 cell block. And then there's the Vikings. The Vikings is the oldest. This right here. I've been talking about the Vikings. You can pull up Facebook posts of mine going back to 2010. If Facebook allows you to pull up posts from 2005, because I've been on Facebook since that shit was exclusive to only people in college, because I was in college when that shit got started in 2005. I was on Facebook back then. Back in the old wild days of the internet, you can say anything you wanted without worry of being reported. I was talking about the LA County Vikings back then. Back when I could say all the evil, not evil, but funny, ignorant things I wanted to say without worry of being flagged. I was talking about the Vikings back then. The Vikings is the most notorious gang. Why are they the most notorious gang? They got all the way to the top. Undersheriff, and we'll see this later on, Undersheriff Paul Tanaka was an Asian. He got promoted to as high as deputy sheriff in 2011. The second in command of the LA County Sheriff's Department was a Viking. And what gets closer to home is his brother was the mayor of Gardena. Not only was Tanaka put in jail for what he did, his brother was kicked out of the mayorship of Gardena for fraudulent shit. 2 Asians. What the fuck is an Asian being doing named a Viking? We know who the Vikings were. They're white. But they got a lot of Asians within them. Look at this here. This was an LA Times report talking about racist activities and comments by Viking members. There was a map of Linwood in the shape of the African continent on display in the station, and members distributed literature containing a racist joke against black people. I wonder what that joke was. Look at this. 998, which is radio code for officer-involved shooting. Vikings members engaged in numerous gang-like behaviors such as throwing gang signals, speaking gang jargon, and spray painting LVS 25 over other street gang insignia in Linwood. There's evidence that the Vikings embraced a white supremacist worldview. You know how when they talk, even the people who out these things, who get these reports, they're still complicit with white supremacy because they never just come out and say it's white supremacists. They try to make it seem like they try to suggest it. But let me tell you something. If they suggesting it, that means it's 100,000 motherfucking% real. There's evidence that the Vikings embraced a white supremacist worldview. Well, if the Vikings embrace a white supremacist worldview, why are the Vikings full of Asian and Latino officers and white? It's like there's a multi-ethnic coalition of Vikings gang members, except for black people. The Vikings are a neo-Nazi white supremacist gang. They keep saying operated like this is past tense. This isn't past tense, people. These motherfuckers. Look, people. Here's the evidence this isn't past tense. Those police officers still work for the sheriff. They still have Viking tattoos. They're still commanders. They're still lieutenants. They're still patrol officers. They're still detectives. They operate under leaders who tactically authorize deputies' unconstitutional behavior. This is where I was talking about Paul Tanaka. Go look him up. That motherfucker Asian. This is the Vikings logo. They actually even had this patch. They used to have this patch on their uniforms. The Wayside Whites. Wayside is the jail, the prison that's out there, the jail that's out there near Magic Mountain, near Castaic Lake off the 5 freeway that a lot of your non-violent offenders go to. That's where you'll go to Wayside. There'll be some violent people in there too, but you'll go to Wayside if you had unpaid parking tickets, if you had all kinds of stuff. Like, Wayside is the most extreme of all the prisons. So you have a lot of people in there who didn't really do anything heinous, but they still got to deal with the Wayside Whites, a white supremacist gang within the department that targets, look here, African American inmates. He says here the complaint alleged that the Wayside Whites were a Ku Klux Klan type organization espousing white supremacy and having one of its objectives the subjugation, intimidation, and terrorization of African American inmates. These people are already in jail. They're already paying paying for whatever crime they committed. Now they got to deal with white supremacist forces that are legally backed by the same government that they're going to be back paying taxes to once they're out of jail. Successive sheriffs resist acknowledging and addressing deputy gangs. This part here talks about Peter Pitches. Motherfucker's name is, look. The sheriff from 1958 to 1981 name was Peter Pitches. Did Peter Pitches pick a pickle pepper? Peter Pitches had all the bitches. How's your name? Peter Pitches sound like a pimp. That's how you know the sheriff ain't shit. How you hire a motherfucker to run your shit name? Peter Pitches. Peter Pitches what? The Peter Pitcher film? To Warner Brothers, nigga? Peter Pitches sound like the name of a porn star who couldn't get it up. This is a Peter Pitches porn. The Peter Pitches porn just has a white chick giving a wet noodle blowjob. Peter Pitches. Peter Pitches, wet noodles all the white bitches. Peter Pitches. But yeah, you see here, there's Peter Pitches. There was Sherman Block, and I told you about Sherman Block. He was around basically, I was born in 81. He was around most of my whole young life. I remember I remember that wart spot, ugly motherfucker him. Sherman Block looked like a shroom with mold on it. A mushroom with mold. That's how Sherman Block looked. He wasn't shit. And they were starting to investigate Sherman Block, and his ass died right as that investigation was catching steam. Because they were about to kick him out because the sheriff was always up for election. And basically, anybody who ran against Sheriff Sherman Block, something would happen to him. Like, if people decide, he basically ran without opponents because it became a thing, and it was very clear by the time the late 80s and early 90s came. Anybody who ran against Sheriff Sherman Block, something may either come up in their history that's going to make them now not credible to be reelected, or worse. And then there was Lee Baca. I shook this dirty son of a bitch's hand. I still wash my hand 3 times a day from the time I shook Lee Baca's hand back in 1999 when I met him. Fuck Lee Baca. He got caught. Lee Baca got caught basically covering for all of this shit that we're talking about right now. And he actually got convicted. But when it came time to go to jail, he claimed that he had Alzheimer's. I think his ass ended up getting locked up anyway. But it took too fucking long. Like, share, subscribe. Baca corrupt ass is the one that appointed Paul Tanaka, a Viking, a known Viking, to be his undersheriff. And Lee Baca, let me show you how Lee Baca looked. This is Lee Baca. Another ethnic white. Here's Paul Tanaka. So, in other words, black people, again, here is our minority coalition. Right here. That's Paul Tanaka. That's Lee Baca. That's one hell of a minority coalition we got there, black people. That is one hell of a minority coalition we got going on here. That is one hell of a minority coalition. Y'all see these people? Now, question. Is this me being racist? Or is this me pointing out what I see? based on a major study done by a major university. Is Dwan being racist? Or am I writing out this report that Loyola Marymount University Center for Juvenile Law and Policy report? Am I being racist? Is it racist pointing out people who said they have ill will towards African Americans? Is that racist? Is that racist pointing out all of these ethnic others, non-white, non-black, that are participating in internal gangs that won't accept black officers? Am I racist? Am I being controversial? Is it me? Oh shit. Thank you, Daniel, on the Cash App. I appreciate that, my brother. I appreciate that Cash App. And here it goes into talking about, it kind of ties in. Like I said, I encourage you guys to read through this shit yourself. Look at the current sheriff, Alex Villanueva. Is Villanueva part of that Black-Brown coalition? Alex Villanueva is so cold. Let me pull it. I didn't even think about it. Let me pull this article up. LA County. Now, what did he do? He turned down. Let me see if I can. Here it is. This is the same dude. Who, now LA County voted in, this is for all you VOTEP motherfuckers who say voting is a solution to everything. Back in 2016, I don't know if it's 2016 or 2018, one of those 2 years, I'm unclear on which year it was, LA County voted to have an oversight committee for the LA County sheriffs. So when shit goes on, the oversight committee, a civilian oversight committee can come together and question the LA County sheriff. Alex Villanueva, the current LA County sheriff, basically said, man, fuck that meeting. You have to understand, I'm going to send my representative to you. I'm not coming to this meeting. I'm going to send a representative to the meeting. That's how the current sheriff, Alex Villanueva, treated the Civilian Oversight Committee, which was voted in by the voters, when it came time to answer his mistreatment of black citizens here in LA. This is Villanueva. He passes for white. He probably has white on his driver's license. But his last name says Black-Brown Coalition. Is this that coalition that's going to lead us into the new century? As one big happy black and brown family? This is what I need from my brown folks who listen to me. I got brown who listen to me and they know I love them. I don't need my brown folks telling black people what's not happening. I need my brown folks to go talk to other brown folks about this right here, about them targeting black people, about brown officers joining the sheriff department in court in front of people saying that they don't like black people. I need my brown people who are not down with the bullshit to talk to other brown people about how they treat black people. Because the minute the white people are done using you brown people for your ultimate end, they're gonna do the same shit to you that they did to the American Indians. the Cherokee Indians in the Yamasee War decided to team with the Europeans when the Europeans offered them guns and bullshit ass European trinkets against the black Seminoles of Florida and the black tribes of Florida. The Seminoles helped them get rid of those black people. The Seminoles from the 1720s through the 1860s often worked side by side with the white supremacists. What happened after the Seminole? I mean, not Seminoles, the Cherokee. I said Cherokee. The Cherokee. Let me say that clear. The Cherokee worked with the white supremacists from the 1720s through the 1860s. The Cherokee. I said Seminoles. The Cherokee. Let's make that clear. That the Seminoles did work with them but to a lesser extent after the Maroon Wars were finished. But before then, it was the Cherokee that were complicit. What happened when the white supremacists were done settling America and got America under wraps? They turned around and put them same fucking Cherokee on reservations and kicked most of the Cherokee off the Dawes Road. So now the overwhelming majority of quote unquote Cherokee Indians are white. The descendants of those actual Cherokee who helped these white supremacists take over America, they're now labeled black. They're labeled other tribes, but they ain't labeled Cherokee. So they're just forewarning to my Latino brothers and sisters who are helping white supremacists perpetuate these white supremacist war. This is forewarning to my African and Caribbean brothers and sisters who come over here on some I'm better than the local black people tip. I'm going to go get a job at a white publication to talk shit about black Americans because I'm different than you guys. This is forewarning to you motherfuckers. What happens when you're done doing the white supremacist dirt for them? And as you read this, it goes in and talk about the negative impact of 50 years of unchecked deputy gains within the LA County Sheriff Department. How much it costs, the parties, the black books, all these different things that prove that these are gangs. It talks about that in there. 5 years of deputy shootings demonstrate a correlation between involvement in such shooting and operating out of the station with active deputy gangs. In this report, as you read through it, it talks about how over half of the shootings involved in the sheriff department involved these gangs. I'm not going to go through each one. It's in the article. Y'all can look it up. The link is in the description box for those who want details on this part. Because I've been on this motherfucker for over 2 hours and I don't want to be on here too much longer. So I want to get ready to close this shit out in a little bit. But I do want to point out a few things that it says here. 1, deputy gangs undermine constitutional policing. Why am I highlighting this? If you go back to my report that I pulled up on my broadcast over the weekend, when I talked about the FBI report saying white supremacist group have successfully infiltrated law enforcement, remember that article? In that article, it talks about how the biggest danger of white supremacist groups infiltrating law enforcement is it puts other police officers at risk. This is for you Blue Lives Matter motherfuckers. We got data proving that these racist gangs within law enforcement hurt and harm other police officers. So I have a question. If Blue Lives Matter to you, do Blue Lives matter enough to rid police departments of these internal gangs? Because we now have an FBI report and a college report proving that. There were no police officers that died at any of those weird ass Black Lives Matter marches. Those Black Lives Matter marches was full of fucking weirdos, but no one killed anybody. But what happened in Washington this past weekend when the Capitol got stormed, a white officer died, beaten to death. Other officers, 5 officers injured. If Blue Lives Matter, do you not want to help out the blue lives that are in law enforcement for the right reasons? This is the reason why we get police officers that enter the police department with good reason, with good intent, and then turn out to be violent thugs. Look at this. The common characteristic regarding all sheriff department gangs, past and present, is that they originate and thrive in low-income, high-minority communities, black neighborhoods. The inevitable result is that people of color living in the deputy gang turf experience an inordinate amount of heavy-handed, aggressive policing, including racial profiling and excessive use of force. This creates a rift between the community and the sheriff department. Let me tell you one more thing. Because like over in View Park, where I moved to late in high school, early college, late in high school, that's patrolled by the Marina Sheriff Department. One thing I'm noticing as I read this report, there are no gangs in the Marina Sheriff Department. The Marina Sheriff Department, for those like me who know sheriff, I know sheriffs, and I've heard them sheriffs tell me they've always called Marina Sheriff Chocolate City, because Marina Sheriff is full of black police officers. I remember, like, even now when I go see my parents, you know, as a black person, you're always on edge about the police department. But I know this. I know that when I'm driving down the 405 freeway and I exit Slauson and I'm driving down Slauson through Ladera Heights, through View Park, I know I'm dealing with the Marina Sheriff Department. And the Marina Sheriff Department is full of black police officers. I have never, let me say it one more time, never had a negative interaction with the Marina Sheriff Division. Never. And I'm somebody who, especially back when I was living with my parents early in college, man, I was partying 7 nights a week. I was always on them streets. I was hardly ever at home. And I drank a lot of liquor too, and I smoked a lot of weed. I never got fucked with. Never. We knew the minute we got on Overhill, the minute we got on La Brea, the minute we got on Slauson, and we're now outside of LAPD jurisdiction, the minute you leave it, you out of Culver City, because the Culver City PD, they over by where the Fox Hill Mall is. So, you know, you sit in trouble when you at the Fox Hill Mall, because that's Culver City PD. But you knew the minute you got on Slauson and you're in that little small area where black police officers patrol the Marina Del Rey Division, you knew you were not going to get fucked with. I got pulled over one time by the Marina Sheriff Department. And that one time was when I had my headlight was out. That same day my headlights went out, I called myself putting my own headlights in my truck, but I forgot to actually plug one of the headlights in. So one of the headlights was out. So that officer pulled me over and said, "Hey, you're driving without a headlight." I said, "You know, officer, I'm sorry, my bad. I didn't know it was out. I put it in myself, And I happened to have the receipt to the headlight on my seat right next to me. And I showed him the receipt. I was like, look, I bought this motherfucker today. And he was like, okay, I feel you, dog. Just make sure you don't drive around, because you know how it is when you leave this area. Just go home and put your headlight together before you decide to leave this little area we in right now. I said, thank you, OG. And that was the one and only time I had an interaction with the Marina Sheriff Department. Oh, I'm just not reading this part. This article right in front of me. I'm just not seeing this part. It says, higher income areas such as Malibu or Marina have never have had any known deputy or gangs or cliques. See, Malibu don't have to have a gang, but that's where Maurice Richardson was killed over in Malibu. Well, Marina Del Rey, they patrol View Park, Windsor Hills, Ladera Heights. Black people with money. We ain't never had no issues over there. Somebody said we need to move the Marina to be safe. If you can afford it. If you can afford it. But yeah, I want to make sure I pointed that out. But you're not going to get this breakdown from someone who's not from LA. Someone who's not from LA or someone who moved to LA later in life, they'll read this to you, but they're not going to give you these dynamics. Because they ain't from the soil like I am. Y'all need to stop listening to these people who ain't from LA talk about LA. They don't know what the fuck they talking about. This is a different ass world over here. The way shit operates over here is different. It's different. But it's still under the thumb of white supremacy. But the only way you're going to get an accurate breakdown of how white supremacy operates in the city of Los Angeles is from someone born and raised here, who lives in South Central, not out in some area they had to move to because their parents couldn't afford to live in the city no more. They could talk about Pomona and Riverside and those places. They can't talk about LA. You can't hear nobody talk about LA who had to move to the Valley. I love my Valley people. Y'all dope, y'all cool, but it's a different politic out there. It's a different environment out there. Shit hit a little different out there. Things act a little different out there than they do here in South Central. Off Slauson, off Crenshaw, Florence, Hoover, Gage, nigga. You got niggas who ain't never walked down Gage want to act like they talking about LA. Sit your ass down. If you ain't ever been on 54th in Vermont and seen this shit happen in South Central the way it happens only in South Central. It talks about the negative impact of these gangs. It talks about these gangs being unconstitutional. Again, I want you all to read the details for yourself. Structuring settlements to hide deputy gangs and cliques from the public. Again, this goes back into the whole settlement game. They settle with you so this shit doesn't have to be disclosed. Thank you, Loyola Marymount University, for doing this study. Because although they don't disclose a lot of stuff, we finding out what we need to know in this article. They even talk about recommendations in this article. And notice in the recommendations, they ain't talking about police reform in these recommendations. They should prohibit deputies from participating in subgroups. I say they should go one further. They should fire every single officer that's in those subgroups. How about that? I fixed it for you, Loyola Marymount. They need to fire every single officer with a tattoo that is currently or in the past participated in these subgroups. That would fix a lot. The Sheriff Department should periodically require existing employees to fill out its tattoo image form that it currently requires all applicants to fill out. So basically, you can, as long as you come into the sheriff department without tattoos, you're good. They're not really checking once you're already up in there. They should acknowledge the existence of gangs, and they can or they can't. I don't care either way. We know this report tells us what it is. It would be cool if they acknowledge it, but if they don't, that's on us as the people to create the labels and do the acknowledging. They should prosecute witnesses that are involved in this shit. Y'all read the judges should allow defensive counsel to cross-examine. Look, this is basically saying that prosecutors don't cross-examine police officers with these tattoos. This should already be a law. The Civilian Oversight Committee should host town halls. If they did, you know me, DwannBrown, I would go. I would be there. They should attend public hearings and blah, 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 blah. Well, anyway, you can read this whole thing. It's in my, it's in the description box of this broadcast. Read it for yourself. Read what's going on here in America right now. Read it for yourself. Because they ain't gonna necessarily point this shit out to us. So we gotta point it out to us. LA County Sheriff gangs. So this goes back, let's tie all this in together. Why did I do all this? Let's tie this all in before I get the fuck on out of here and go to Craig Facts. Why did I tie all this together? We had the whole situation with Trump this past week, the Capitol, them followers and all that shit. We see the media trying to make this a Trump thing. We see here that this is bigger than Trump. This is a systemic, nationwide issue that's not going to be solved with police reform. How can we solve this? Easy. The same way they solve all other problems. Punishment. Punish those involved. What can we do to make that happen? For those of you who do still participate in voting, how about when we have a plan, when we have these locally elected officials, you go to those locally elected officials and see how they feel about punishing officers. And if they ain't down with punishing officers, don't give them your vote. If there's someone down with punishing officers, put your money behind them. Politics ain't personal, politics is business. Don't argue with these people who say racism is a Trump thing. This is Trump's America. If they say that, just politely send them this article and talk about how this isn't exclusive to LA. This is a nationwide thing. And most of all, black people, it shows that we have to come together with ourselves and our own family and defend ourselves. I ain't talking about starting shit. But you know, when this whole white supremacist war is over, internal war they're having amongst each other is over with, when they're done committing white on white crimes, they're basically arguing with one another over who's going to control us. We need to be ready for that. This is Hotepish, Intelligent Ish Talk, Intelligent Shit Talk, where we bring you the profound and the profane. Where we talk that shit.
You're listening to Hotepish with your host, Dwan B.
Listen.
Intelligent Ish Talk, Intelligent Shit Talk, where we balance the profound with the profane. Political satire, celebrity and expert guests, information and entertainment, conversations and solutions. Leave your feelings at the door. You're listening.
Nigga. That's where we are with it right now. We are here to bring this discussion, to have these talks. And I thank you guys for listening. We're not here to talk about other issues with other people. We're here to talk about issues that are affecting us all as a people. Watch Craig Facts today, 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. More likely we usually get started about 4 o'clock. But the official start time is 3:30. The unofficial start time is 4 o'clock. We're going to talk some real shit. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we always talk that real shit at Craig Facts. So tune in. I have Craig's channel here on my YouTube channel. Y'all can just click off this motherfucker and y'all see his channel up on here. Share this video, like this video, pass it around to people who don't know any better. And remember this: there are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages for those who are willing to pick up game. For the person in the chat room who says, why does everybody think everyone hates blacks? I'm not going to answer your question because you're obviously a white person talking, because only white people call us blacks. And if you're a white person, I have nothing to say to you. You have a whole race of people you need to go and talk to about this problem. My name is Dwan B. I'm out.